the stolen name, and the snapshot of truth. Under the glittering chandeliers of the Ritz-Carlton, Victor Vasquez's kiss with Zara Mendez was supposed to be the sweetest moment of the night, proof of 8 years of perfect marriage. But just moments later, that kiss shattered. Hundreds of Orlando's high society gasped as Zara, no longer the deceived wife, but the queen of vengeance, held up a gold clutch. Inside was not lipstick, but a photograph. That picture didn't just capture her husband and her best friend, kneeling and weeping. It captured how they had spent a year cheating, checking into hotels under the very name Mr. and Mrs. Vasquez. That night, she didn't just discard her wedding ring. She burned down an entire empire built on lies and turned her humiliation into an ovation that lasted 5 years. See how one betrayed woman rose to become a legend. The story, the most elegant revenge in Orlando. The silence in the grand ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton was so dense it could be cut with a knife. 500 of Orlando's high society held their breath as Zara Mendez, radiant in her cobalt blue gown, held up a photograph that would shake the foundations of 2 marriages and forever ruin the reputations of 2 of the night's most prominent guests. "Ladies and gentlemen," Zara announced, her voice ringing like crystal through the ballroom. "For 8 years, I believed I was married to an honest man. Tonight, you will discover, at the same time as I confirm, who Victor Vasquez truly is, and who my best friend, Chloe Morales, truly is." At her feet, her husband wept on his knees like a chastised child, his tuxedo crumpled, tears streaming down his once proud face. A few feet away, her supposed best friend since high school trembled in terror in her pink dress, knowing her life, as she knew it, was about to end forever. Social photographers' cameras began to fire like machine guns. Cell phones were raised throughout the room to record the moment that would go viral in a matter of hours. And Zara, the woman who had arrived at that party as a betrayed wife, was about to leave it as the most applauded heroine in Florida's social history. How did we reach this explosive moment that would change 3 lives forever? To understand it, we need to go back 6 months and discover the full story of the most scandalous betrayal and the most elegant revenge Orlando had ever witnessed. Part 1. The gathering storm. The Orlando sun shone brightly over the elegant streets of the financial district, where Zara Mendez walked with that natural grace that had always attracted admiring glances and silent envy. Her golden blonde hair moved gently with the breeze, and her sky-blue eyes reflected a tranquility that would soon be tested. At 32, Zara had built a life many would consider perfect. Married to Victor Vasquez, a successful real estate entrepreneur, they lived in a colonial mansion in Winter Park, surrounded by gardens she herself designed with love and dedication. Their 8-year marriage had been, until recently, the example many couples wanted to follow. "Hey Zara, have you seen the new French restaurant that opened on Park Avenue?" The sing-song voice of Chloe Morales interrupted her thoughts as she approached with that smile Zara had known since high school. Chloe had been her classmate at the exclusive St. Patrick's School in Mexico City before both families moved to Orlando following the business opportunities Florida offered. Since then, they had maintained a friendship Zara believed was sincere, never suspecting that behind that facade of camaraderie hid a sick obsession. "Oh, Chloe, no, I haven't had time to go out much lately," Zara replied, noticing how her friend wore a dress almost identical to the one she had worn last week, only in a different color. It was a pattern that constantly repeated. Chloe always tried to imitate her style, her way of speaking, even the way she wore her hair. "Well, we should go together, don't you think? We could call the guys to join us," Chloe suggested, with a smile that didn't reach her green eyes. What Zara didn't know was that those group outings had been carefully orchestrated by Chloe. Since high school, when Zara started dating Victor, Chloe had felt that pang of envy that morphed into obsession. Victor was handsome, charismatic, and above all, he had chosen Zara. That was something Chloe could not stand. "Sure, that sounds great," Zara agreed, unaware that those innocent outings had become the perfect stage for her husband and her best friend to weave a web of lies behind her back. That afternoon, while preparing dinner in her spacious Carrara marble kitchen, Zara recalled the early days of her relationship with Victor. They had been so young, so in love. He courted her for months in college, writing romantic letters and showing up with flowers at the most unexpected moments. "My beautiful queen," he used to tell her, "you are the most beautiful woman I have ever seen." But Victor had one flaw Zara had overlooked in her youth. He was a natural conquistador. His ego fed on admiring female glances, and while he initially settled for innocent flirtations, over the years, that need for validation had become more dangerous. When Chloe began casting glances charged with intent during social gatherings, Victor couldn't resist. It was the perfect challenge. His wife's best friend, someone who knew all her secrets, someone who desired him precisely because he was Zara's. The phone rang, interrupting Zara's memories. It was Victor. "Love, I'm going to be late again. I have a meeting with some very important clients from the north." He lied shamelessly, while he was actually heading to the apartment Chloe had rented specifically for their clandestine meetings. "Again?" Zara couldn't hide the frustration in her voice. "Victor, we haven't spent a night together in 3 weeks." "I know, my life, but this business is going to set us up very well financially. I promise the weekend will be just for us." Another lie. That weekend, Chloe had planned a trip to Miami Beach with the excuse of visiting a cousin, and Victor already had his alibi ready, a supposed golf tournament with his partners. Zara hung up the phone, with a strange feeling in her chest. Lately, Victor had changed. He showered more often, had completely updated his wardrobe, and always had his cell phone glued to his hand, guarding it like a national treasure. That night, while dining alone in the dining room, which had once been filled with laughter and intimate conversations, Zara felt the coming loneliness for the first time. The walls of her beautiful house were starting to feel like a golden prison, and an inner voice whispered truths she wasn't ready to hear yet. On the other side of the city, Victor and Chloe indulged in their guilty passion, building each encounter on the foundation of deceit and betrayal. For Chloe, every kiss was a victory over Zara. For Victor, every caress fed his sick ego. Neither imagined that their castle of lies would soon collapse in the most spectacular way possible. The storm was approaching, and Zara, unknowingly, was about to face the greatest test of her life, one that would lead her to discover an inner strength she didn't even know she possessed. Part 2. The Evidence and the Plan. Orlando mornings had that magical quality Zara had grown to love during her years in Florida. But lately, not even that natural beauty could ward off the sense of unease that grew in her chest like a poisonous plant. "Good morning, Mrs. Zara." Maria, her trusted housekeeper, greeted her, serving freshly brewed Colombian coffee. "Is Mr. Victor not having breakfast?" "He left early again," Zara murmured, trying to maintain a casual tone. "He says he has many work commitments." Maria, a wise woman who had worked for wealthy families all her life, exchanged a knowing look with Zara. She had seen enough marriages to recognize the warning signs, but she knew it wasn't her place to comment. Zara's cell phone vibrated with a message from Chloe. "Friend, are you coming to yoga class today? I have something super important to tell you." Zara sighed. Chloe's constant invitations had become more frequent lately, always with that artificial urgency that characterized those who hide something. However, the need for female company led her to accept. Okay, I'll see you there at 10. The yoga studio was located in an elegant Winter Park commercial complex, frequented by successful professionals and business wives. Zara arrived punctually, as always, and found Chloe already settled on her mat, wearing a branded athletic outfit that, curiously, was very similar to the one Zara had worn last week. "Zara, I'm so glad you came." Chloe approached with that exaggerated effusiveness Zara now recognized as pure performance. "How is Victor? He looks so busy lately, the poor thing." It was a seemingly innocent question, but Zara detected something strange in the tone. A familiarity that shouldn't exist, considering Chloe only saw Victor at social gatherings. "Yes, very busy," Zara replied, studying her friend's face. "Why do you ask? Have you seen him somewhere?" A microsecond of panic crossed Chloe's eyes before she recovered. No. I was just asking because David mentioned he had seen his car downtown several times, and you know how my husband is with gossip." Another carefully constructed lie. David, Chloe's husband, was a shy, reserved man who rarely left his accounting office. He would never comment on other men's movements. During the class, Zara couldn't concentrate on the poses. Her mind raced, connecting dots she hadn't wanted to see. Victor's constant nights out, his new obsession with clothes and the gym, the way he avoided her gaze during intimate conversations. And now, Chloe's strange questions. "Hey, Chloe," Zara said as they headed to the parking lot. "What was that important thing you wanted to tell me?" Chloe blushed slightly. It was the first time Zara had seen her genuinely nervous. "Oh, yes, well, David and I are thinking of renovating the house, and I wanted to ask you for the name of your decorator." Another lie. Zara had decorated her own house without professional help. Chloe knew that perfectly well. That afternoon, Zara decided to do something she had never done in 8 years of marriage: discreetly check Victor's things. She wasn't a naturally jealous woman, but the signs had become too obvious to ignore. She started with his study, a room he considered his private sanctuary. Among the business books and specialized real estate magazines, she found something that chilled her: a receipt from an exclusive Park Avenue jeweler. The date was 2 weeks ago, and the amount was considerable. Why would he buy jewelry without telling her? Their anniversary was 4 months away. With trembling hands, Zara continued searching. In the inner pocket of one of his jackets, she found another receipt. This time, from a boutique hotel in downtown Orlando. A room reserved for Mr. and Mrs. Vasquez on a date when she had been home, alone. Preparing a romantic dinner, he canceled at the last minute for work. The world began to spin around her. The puzzle pieces clicked into place, forming an image that tore her apart inside. Her husband not only had a mistress, but he paraded her around Orlando using her last name as if she were his legitimate wife. That night, when Victor came home near midnight smelling of perfume that wasn't hers, Zara was waiting for him, in the living room with a glass of red wine and a serene expression that hid the internal storm. "How was your day, love?" he asked, kissing her on the forehead with the same naturalness with which he had lied for months. "Interesting," she replied, looking him directly in the eyes. "Very interesting." Victor didn't detect the emotional charge behind that simple word. His arrogance prevented him from imagining that his wife, the sweet and trusting woman he had married, might be starting to unravel his web of lies. "I'm happy to hear that, my queen. I had a grueling day. Clients are very demanding lately." Zara nodded silently, sipping her wine while observing the man who had once been the love of her life. In that moment, she made a decision that would change everything. She wouldn't confront Victor yet. She needed more information, more evidence, but above all, she needed to prepare emotionally for what would come next. The silent war had begun, and Zara was determined to win it with dignity. In her secret apartment, Chloe took off the pearl necklace Victor had given her that afternoon. the same one that appeared on the receipt Zara had found. Unbeknownst to them, both women were preparing for a battle that would define the rest of their lives. A battle where the truth would be the most powerful weapon. Part 3. The gathering of ammunition the following days unfolded like a slow-motion film for Zara. Every gesture from Victor, every word from Chloe, every detail that previously went unnoticed now took on a sinister meaning. She had developed an almost supernatural ability to maintain her composure, while her inner world crumbled piece by piece. "My love, I have the golf tournament at Bay Hill on Saturday," Victor announced during breakfast, without looking up from the newspaper. "Several important hotel businessmen will be there. It could be very good for business." Zara smiled with that icy serenity she had perfected. "How nice! And who's going?" The question was seemingly innocent, but Victor tensed. Well, several acquaintances. Carlos Mendoza, the Gutierrez brothers group. You know, the usual people. Lie number 1000. Zara had discreetly called Carlos Mendoza the day before, under the pretext of inviting him to dinner, and he had mentioned he would be out of town all weekend, visiting his mother in Tampa. "Sounds perfect, my life. I'll take the opportunity to do some pending things," Zara replied, while inwardly meticulously planning her next move. That same morning, after Victor left for the office, Zara visited her friend Sandra, a private investigator she had met in college, who now had a thriving agency in Orlando. Sandra was a shrewd woman, with a penetrating gaze, who had helped many wives uncover painful truths. "Zara, my dear, what a lovely surprise." Sandra greeted her in her modern financial district office. "To what do I owe the honor of your visit?" "Sandra, I need your help." Zara got straight to the point. "I believe Victor is cheating on me, and I need to know for sure." Sandra's expression immediately turned professional. For the next 40 minutes, Zara shared all her findings: the receipts, the behavior changes, the lies about nights out, and her suspicions about Chloe. "Chloe Morales, the blonde who's always with you at social events?" Sandra frowned. "Oh, Zara, that woman always gave me a bad feeling. I've seen her in several places acting strangely. Strange how? As if she were another person. As if she were trying to be you, but a cheap version." Those words struck Zara's heart like a hammer blow. A lifetime of friendship since adolescence, and Chloe had been a facade, an actress playing the part of the best friend while plotting her betrayal. "I need concrete proof, Sandra. I can't act on mere suspicion." "Give me a week," Sandra promised. "I'll get you everything you need." The plan was set in motion with military precision. Sandra assigned 2 of her best investigators to discreetly follow both Victor and Chloe. The photos began to arrive via encrypted email starting Tuesday. First image: Victor and Chloe, having lunch at an Italian restaurant in Lake Mary, their hands intertwined across the table like an in-love couple. Second image: leaving a boutique hotel in downtown Orlando together, Chloe carrying the exact same Chanel bag Zara had bought last month. Third image: passionately kissing in a shopping center parking lot, oblivious to the world around them. Each photograph was like a stab wound, but Zara studied them with the coldness of a surgeon. Her pain was slowly transforming into something more powerful, a steely determination to reclaim her dignity and her life. On Friday night, Chloe called her with a honeyed voice. "Zara, my love, do you want to go shopping tomorrow? David is going to an accounting seminar in Tampa, and I'll be super bored." Another perfectly synchronized lie. David would be in Tampa, yes, but Chloe was planning to spend the weekend in Miami Beach with Victor, in the presidential suite of the hotel they had booked under false names. "I can't, Chloe. I have plans with my sister," Zara lied smoothly. "Oh, what a shame. Well, maybe next time. I love you very much, friend." "And I love you too," Zara replied, feeling those words turn to ashes in her mouth. That night, as Victor packed his golf bag, which actually contained beach clothes and a swimsuit, Zara made the most important decision of her life. She would not only confront her unfaithful husband and her false friend, but she would do it in the most spectacular way possible. The annual Orlando High Society Gala would be in 2 weeks. It was the event of the year where all the city's elite gathered to show off their status and connections. Zara knew neither Victor nor Chloe would dare to miss it. It was too important for their egos and their businesses. What they didn't know was that Zara had been planning her appearance at that gala for days. It wouldn't just be a confrontation. It would be a declaration of war, a reclaiming of her dignity, and the beginning of her new life. Sandra delivered a manila envelope full of photographs, documents, and irrefutable evidence of the affair that had already lasted a full year. "Zara," her friend told her in a serious voice, "what you are about to see is going to hurt a lot. Are you sure you want to go ahead with this?" Zara took the envelope with steady hands, more sure than I've ever been in my life. That night, under the light of her desk lamp, Zara reviewed every piece of evidence, every detail of the betrayal. Tears rolled down her cheeks, but they were no longer the tears of a broken woman. They were tears of liberation, of a woman who finally saw the complete truth and was ready to act. On Saturday, while Victor and Chloe enjoyed their stolen romantic getaway in Miami Beach, Zara visited the most exclusive beauty salon on Park Avenue and commissioned the most spectacular dress she had ever seen. A cobalt blue design that enhanced her eyes and figure, a masterpiece that would make her shine like never before. The countdown had begun. In 2 weeks, in Orlando's most elegant ballroom, 3 lives would change forever. Part 4. The Showdown at the Ritz-Carlton. The grand ballroom of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel in Orlando shone with the elegance of a European palace. Crystal chandeliers cast golden reflections over the sea of ball gowns and impeccable tuxedos. The crème de la crème of Orlando society had gathered for the most exclusive event of the year, unaware that they would witness a drama that would be remembered for decades. Zara took one last look at herself in her suite's makeup mirror. The cobalt blue dress fit her figure like a second skin, enhancing every curve with sublime elegance. Her blonde hair was styled in a sophisticated French twist, and her blue eyes shone with an intensity she hadn't shown in months. Around her neck, her grandmother's diamond necklace completed an ensemble that radiated power and dignity. "You look beautiful, Mrs. Zara," said Maria, who had insisted on helping her get ready. "It's going to be a very special night." "Yes," Zara murmured, touching the small golden clutch that contained the most compromising photographs. "Very special." Sandra arrived punctually at 7 to accompany her. As a private investigator, she knew the importance of having reliable witnesses at crucial moments. "Are you ready for this?" she asked Zara as they got into the elegant Mercedes-Benz that would take them to the hotel. "I've been ready all my life. I just didn't know it," Zara replied, with a serenity that surprised even Sandra. The plan was simple, but devastating. Zara would make her entrance as she always had, elegant, smiling, the perfect wife of the successful Victor Vasquez. She would greet acquaintances, chat amiably with the other business wives, and wait for the perfect moment. Victor and Chloe had arrived separately, as they had been doing for the past few months. He looked impeccable in his Italian tuxedo, working the room with that conqueror's smile that had once made Zara fall in love. Chloe wore a pale pink dress, which was an almost exact copy of the one Zara had worn at the previous year's gala, only in a different color. Even on the night of her biggest betrayal, Chloe couldn't help but imitate her victim. "Zara, my love!" Chloe approached with that false effusiveness Zara now recognized as pure performance. "You look divine. That dress looks spectacular on you." "Thank you, Chloe. You look very familiar too," Zara replied, with a smile that didn't reach her eyes. Victor joined the group, kissing his wife on the cheek with the same naturalness with which he had been lying for a year. "My beautiful queen," he murmured against her ear. "You are the most beautiful woman at this party." Zara felt nauseous, but maintained her composure. "How gallant! How was the golf tournament this weekend?" "Excellent, my life. We won several important clients," Victor lied without blinking, unaware that Zara had photographs of him and Chloe on Miami Beach during those very same dates. The orchestra began to play, and couples headed to the dance floor. Zara watched from her table as Victor invited several ladies to dance, always the perfect gentleman in public. Chloe moved around the ballroom as if she were the queen of the party, subtly flirting with married men and enjoying the attention. At 10:30, the moment Zara had been waiting for arrived. The master of ceremonies announced the traditional anniversary waltz, where couples would dance according to the years they had been married. "Dear guests, we now invite all married couples to the dance floor. We will begin with those newly married for less than a year." The couples gradually left the floor as more years of marriage were mentioned. When they reached 8 years, Zara and Victor remained among the few couples still dancing. "My love," Victor whispered, holding her in his arms. "Thank you for all these wonderful years. You are the love of my life." The words fell like knives into Zara's heart, but her moment had arrived. With a grace that surprised even herself, she separated from Victor in the middle of the dance floor. "Ladies and gentlemen," Zara said, her voice clear and strong, commanding the attention of the entire ballroom. "I would like to share something very important with you all on this special evening." A murmur of confusion spread through the room. Victor looked at her with growing panic, and Chloe had gone white as a sheet. "For 8 years, I believed I was married to an honest and loyal man," Zara continued, her voice gaining power with every word. "I believed I had a true friend who supported me every step of the way. Tonight, I want to show you the reality of what happens when you trust the wrong people." With elegant precision, Zara opened the golden clutch and began to display the photographs Sandra had obtained. The images were projected onto the ballroom screens, thanks to a technician Sandra had discreetly hired. "This is my husband, Victor Vasquez, on the day he was supposedly at a golf tournament," Zara announced, as the first photograph showed Victor and Chloe kissing. "And this is my best friend since high school, Chloe Morales, who apparently decided she wanted everything that was mine, including my husband." The ballroom erupted in murmurs of shock and indignation. Social photographers' cameras began to fire, capturing every moment of what would become the biggest scandal in Orlando's social history. Victor ran towards Zara in desperation. "Zara, please, we can talk about this privately. Don't make a scene. A scene!" Zara laughed with crystalline bitterness. "Like the scene you've been making for a year in Orlando hotels with my supposed best friend?" Chloe tried to slip toward the exit, but Sandra and 2 of her investigators blocked her way. There was no escape for either of them. "Zara, please!" Chloe cried, tears streaming down her perfectly applied makeup. "I can explain everything. It's not what it looks like. It's not what it looks like." Zara showed another photograph of them leaving the hotel with luggage. "Then what exactly does it look like when my husband and my best friend check in as Mr. and Mrs. Vasquez at hotels across the city?" The audience began to applaud. The high society women, who had witnessed many similar betrayals in their social circles, recognized Zara's courage. By publicly exposing the infidelity instead of suffering in silence, she reclaimed her narrative. Victor dropped to his knees in front of Zara, sobbing desperately. "Forgive me, my love. It was a terrible mistake. She seduced me. You are the love of my life." "That's a lie," Chloe shouted, losing her composure completely. "He told me he didn't love you anymore, that he was going to divorce you to be with me." The betrayal deepened further. Not only had they had an affair, but they had planned to completely destroy Zara's life. With a dignity that left everyone breathless, Zara removed her wedding ring and dropped it onto the floor next to Victor. "Ladies and gentlemen," she announced in a firm voice, "I present to you my ex-husband, Victor Vasquez, and my ex-friend, Chloe Morales. May they enjoy the rest of their lives together, because from this moment on, they are no longer my problem." The ballroom erupted in applause. Women stood up, cheering Zara as if she were a victorious heroine. Men applauded respectfully, recognizing the class and dignity with which she had handled a devastating situation. Zara walked toward the exit with her head held high, while Victor continued crying on the floor, and Chloe was consoled by a few acquaintances who took pity on her. The night of truth was over, but for Zara, a new life was about to begin. Part 5. The Renacer Foundation. 6 months after the scandal that shook Orlando's high society, Zara Mendez walked through the gardens of the Winter Park Museum of Art with a confidence that radiated from the depths of her being. The morning sun caressed her face, and for the first time in years, she felt completely free. The aftermath of that memorable night had been a whirlwind of changes, all positive. The scandal videos had gone viral on social media, turning Zara into a symbol of female dignity and empowerment. Women across the country contacted her to thank her for having the courage to publicly expose the infidelity, inspiring them to take control of their own lives. "Zara, there you are." The male voice pulled her out of her thoughts. She turned to find Kian Herrera, the most respected landscape architect in Florida, walking toward her with that genuine smile that had won her over. Slowly, over the past few months, Kian was everything Victor was not. Where her ex-husband was superficial and arrogant, Kian was deep and humble. Where Victor constantly sought the admiration of other women, Kian had eyes only for Zara. At 35, he was a man who had built his reputation on genuine talent and solid values. "Sorry I'm late," Kian apologized, gently kissing her cheek. "I had a last-minute call about the botanical garden project." "Don't worry," Zara smiled, feeling that familiar warmth only Kian could ignite. "I was enjoying the tranquility." They had met 3 months after the scandal, when Zara decided to completely renovate her home gardens as a symbol of her new life. Kian arrived with a proposal that would not only transform her outdoor space, but would reveal an emotional connection neither of them expected. "How is the design of your new office going?" Kian asked, as they walked together along the path lined with azaleas. Zara smiled proudly. After the divorce, she decided to channel all her energy into something she had always dreamed of: opening her own interior design consultancy. The contacts she had made over the years as a business wife, combined with her natural talent and the unexpected publicity from the scandal, had resulted in a thriving business from day one. "Perfectly. I already have 3 important projects for next month," Zara replied. "It seems Orlando women want me to help them renovate their lives along with their homes." They both laughed. Zara had discovered she had a natural gift for helping other women find their own identity through design, especially those who, like her, had lost their sense of self in toxic marriages. Meanwhile, on the other side of the city, Victor and Chloe's lives had taken a very different turn. The scandal had ruined Victor's reputation in Orlando's business world. Clients had canceled contracts, partners had cut ties, and his real estate company had gone bankrupt in less than 4 months. Chloe, for her part, had lost all her social circles. High society wives had completely excluded her, and her own marriage to David had fallen apart when he discovered the full truth about the affair. Now Victor and Chloe lived together in a small apartment on the outskirts of Orlando, struggling to rebuild their lives on the ashes of the lies they had constructed. The passion that had once blinded them turned into mutual resentment, each blaming the other for the destruction of their previous lives. Back at the museum, Zara and Kian stopped in front of an exhibition of contemporary paintings. One of the works showed a woman emerging from turbulent waters toward a luminous sky. "It reminds me of you," Kian murmured, gently taking Zara's hand. She looked at him with those blue eyes that now shone with a renewed light. "Why?" "Because you are the bravest woman I know. Not everyone has the courage to expose their pain in public, to reclaim their dignity." Zara felt tears of gratitude in her eyes. They weren't tears of pain like the ones she had shed for months, but tears of joy for having found someone who truly valued her. "Kian," she said, turning to face him, "there's something I want to tell you. I'm ready to love again." Those words floated in the air like a promise of new beginnings. Kian smiled and kissed her softly, a kiss full of respect, admiration, and genuine love. 2 weeks later, Zara's phone rang in her new office. It was Victor, his voice broken with desperation. "Zara, please, I need to talk to you. I'm ruined. I lost everything. Chloe and I aren't working out. I realized I made the biggest mistake of my life. You were my real life. She was just a fantasy." Zara listened in silence, feeling a mix of pity and liberation. The man who was once capable of controlling his emotions now sounded completely defeated. "Victor," she said in a calm voice, "I'm sorry things didn't work out as you expected with Chloe, but that's no longer my responsibility. Please, Zara, we can try again. I've changed. I learned my lesson." "Yes, I'm sure you learned a lesson," Zara replied. "But I learned mine too. I learned that I deserve someone who values me from day one, not someone who only appreciates me after losing me." There was a painful silence on the other end of the line. "Is there someone else?" Victor asked, his voice cracking. Zara smiled, thinking of Kian and the marriage proposal he had made the night before during a romantic dinner at their favorite restaurant. "Yes," she replied. "I think I always deserved to be loved." "Zara, please." "Goodbye, Victor. I wish you the best in your new life." Zara hung up the phone and looked out the window of her office toward the bright future that stretched before her. In 3 months, she would marry Kian in an intimate ceremony, in the gardens he had specially designed for her. It would be a new beginning, built on solid foundations of mutual respect and true love. That afternoon, Zara reflected on the extraordinary journey she had lived. The betrayal, which she once thought would destroy her, had become the force that freed her. She had lost an unfaithful husband and a false friend. But she had gained something much more valuable: her own identity, her dignity intact, and a true love that valued her for who she really was. The woman who had entered that gala 6 months ago was very different from the one now planning her future with renewed confidence. The first had been a wife who lived to please others. The second was a woman who had learned to value herself. In the small apartment on the outskirts, Chloe wept as she watched photos of Zara's engagement on social media. The woman who had spent her life trying to imitate and surpass her friend finally understood that she had lost something irreplaceable by chasing an illusion. Her obsession had left her with nothing: no marriage, no friends, no self-respect. Victor, sitting in the same apartment, looked at the same photos with a mixture of regret and admiration. The woman he had taken for granted for 8 years now shone with a light he had never known how to appreciate. He had realized too late that he had held a diamond in his hands and exchanged it for colored glass. But for Zara, the past was exactly that. The past. Her future stretched out like a blank canvas, ready to be painted with the brightest colors of her new life. She had learned that true victory was not in revenge, but in the ability to rise, rebuild, and find authentic happiness. The betrayer had cried in despair. The mistress had begged for forgiveness, but the wife had been cheered not only at that luxurious party, but in life itself. and that ovation would continue to resonate in every sure step she took toward her bright future, next to a man who truly deserved her. The story of Zara Mendez had become a legend in Orlando, a reminder that dignity always triumphs over betrayal, and that strong women don't break. They transform into diamonds under pressure. Part 6. The legacy continues. 5 years later, the aroma of Colombian coffee and freshly baked croissants drifted across the elegant terrace of the new Renacer Café Boutique, located in the heart of Park Avenue in Winter Park. It was a spring Sunday morning, and Zara Herrera, formerly Mendez, watched with satisfaction as her latest business project had become the favorite meeting spot for Orlando's most influential women. Renacer, Rebirth, was not just a cafe, it was a symbol. Every corner had been designed by Zara as a sanctuary for women seeking to reinvent themselves, overcome crises, or simply find inspiration in an environment that breathed female empowerment. The walls were decorated with photographs of successful women in the community, and in the center, framed in gold, was the cover of Forbes magazine, where Zara had been featured as Florida's Entrepreneur of the Year for her design consultancy chain, which now spanned 5 states. "Mommy, can we go to the park now?" Sonia's sweet little voice, her 3-year-old daughter, interrupted her thoughts. The girl was a perfect blend of Zara's and Kian's features, curly blonde hair like her mother's, but with her father's intense green eyes. "In a little while, my love," Zara replied, lifting the little one into her arms. "Daddy is finishing reviewing the plans for the new garden." Kian emerged from the back office of the cafe, carrying rolls of architectural blueprints and wearing that smile that still made Zara's heart leap with joy after 5 years of marriage. His landscaping company had grown exponentially, largely thanks to the momentum he gained after his love story with Zara went public. Couples across the country wanted the man who had healed the broken heart of America's bravest woman to design their home gardens. "Ready for our family Sunday?" Kian asked, kissing Zara on the forehead before tickling Sonia, who erupted in crystalline laughter. As they headed toward the park, Zara reflected on how her life had changed in these 5 years. The gala scandal had become a turning point, not only for her, but for thousands of women who had found the courage to face their own situations of emotional abuse or infidelity after seeing her example. Her story had inspired a best-selling book, When the Diamond Shines Brightest, where she chronicled not only the events of that memorable night, but also the process of healing, self-discovery, and building a new identity. But beyond the media success, Zara had channeled her experience into something much more significant. The Renacer Foundation, a non-profit organization that helped women victims of infidelity and emotional abuse rebuild their lives. The foundation offered everything from free legal advice to professional training, and had already helped over 2,000 women across the southeastern United States. "Do you know what day it is today?" Kian asked her as Sonia ran toward the swings. "How could I forget?" Zara smiled. "It's exactly 5 years since Victor made his last call." It was true. Exactly 5 years ago, Victor had made his last desperate attempt to win Zara back. But much had happened since then. Victor now lived alone, working as a used car salesman, battling a depression that antidepressants couldn't fully control. Chloe had returned to Mexico, defeated and with her reputation ruined, living in near total isolation. "Do you ever feel sorry for them?" Kian asked Zara as they watched Sonia play with other children. Zara considered the question carefully. "I feel sorry for the people they became," she finally replied, "but not for the consequences of their choices. They chose to build their happiness on the destruction of mine. I simply refused to be a victim of their choices." It was a response she had perfected over the years, but it came genuinely from her heart. Zara had made peace with her past in a way few manage. She harbored no resentment, simply having learned to value her own dignity so much that she would never again allow anyone to put her second. "Mommy, look how high I can go," Sonia shouted from the swings, radiating the innate confidence Zara hoped her daughter would keep all her life. "Very good, my love," Zara replied, feeling a wave of gratitude for the life she had built. Her phone vibrated with a message from Sandra, her private investigator friend, who now served as the director of security for the Renaissance Foundation. "Zara, the Netflix documentary crew arrives tomorrow. They want to interview 10 of the women we helped last year for the special they're doing on the foundation. All set." Zara smiled. Netflix had decided to make a documentary about the social impact of her story, focusing on how one woman had turned her most painful moment into a force for positive change for thousands of others. The documentary would be called After the Waltz: How Dignity Changed Lives, and it would premiere next year. "What is your favorite part of this whole story?" Kian asked her, hugging her from behind. "That the end wasn't about revenge, or about proving I was better than them," Zara confessed. "It was about discovering who I truly was when no one else was defining me." Her triumph had not been in the public humiliation of Victor and Chloe. Her true triumph was discovering that she was capable of building an extraordinary life entirely on her own. Zara had started as a woman who defined her worth through her marriage, and had evolved into someone who inspired others to find their own internal value. The woman who had entered that gala 5 years ago with a broken heart had left it as a phoenix, and now, 5 years later, she had built a legacy that would endure far beyond her own life. The legacy of that night at the Ritz-Carlton continued to grow, not as a story of revenge, but as a testament to the transformative power of dignity, self-love, and the unbreakable determination of a woman who refused to be a victim of others' choices.